Hello everybody, I am back today to work with this hexagon shaped mold that I got from Resin. They sent me along with this kit. So I've really been trying to figure out what to do with this. I wanted to do something kind of different, and I think I finally figured out kind of an experiment that I'd like to try. So I've made up 8 ounces here of Resin. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start from the base down here. I'm going to pour a bit of resin into this cup, and I'm going to mix it together with, let's see, is that going to be enough? I think that's going to be about enough. I'm going to mix it together a bit with these teeny tiny little flowers. So this is supposed to be like a dried flower kind of a thing that I got on Temu, and it's made for landscaping, like if you're doing a train track or something like that. But what I'm going to do is, they call it dried flowers, but honestly, I don't believe that it is actually dried flowers. Okay, but the colors pass for flowers, so I'm going to pour a bit in here. And I'm going to mix it with some of this green, okay? And see what kind of look we get with this. Okay, it kind of looks like that, what we got so far. And what I'm going to do is I kind of want to just coat the bottom part here. I want to put this in, and I want it to stay down there, down here at this part here. I don't want anything else up here in the mold. I want this all to be clear when the time comes to pour my clear. But I'll make sure that that's all cleaned out then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour this in like that, just so it kind of stays here along the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to give this a quick spray of alcohol. So it kind of sits down here. Go. I'm going to let it just dry, kind of cure up at an angle like this. So I'm going to go set it over on the curing rack here at an angle and just kind of wait for it to dry. Not all the way, but mostly. Okay, so I'm going to let that happen, and then I'll be back to do the next step. Everyone, I am back, and I have got some more resin made up here. And this part of our resin is, it's not completely cured, but it is definitely like gooey cured, like, you know. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take my tree that I made, and this is not really like the twist. I mean, some of the branches are like in the twist mode, but I just did kind of a wire, like a wrap for my trunk, since I was doing a big piece and not just like a small jewelry piece. So I didn't include this in the tutorial if anybody really wants to see how I made it. It was nothing fancy, and it did not take me very long, but I would be happy to do that sometime if you want me to. So what I did is I kind of made this and measured it to fit into this mold. Well, my resin is still, it's not cured all the way. I'm going to go ahead and put my tree in there and stand it up like this. Okay, it's not touching the bottom when I stand it up like this. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cure in place. It's about 3/4 of an inch standing up from this back wall. Okay, so that's all I was going to show you right now, is just that I'm going to do that and let it cure. and I don't want to pour my resin in yet until my wire piece here can stand up and keep itself up away from the wall there. So I think that that will do it. So when this is cured, I'll be back and I'll do the next step. Sorry, I know you can't really see it very well, but here it is. This is how it will look in the mold. Okay? Okay. I will see you back here in a bit. Hello, everybody. Okay, I am back with this. You can see here that it has cured, and we've got about a good inch or so with the branches of the tree coming up to this background here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I've got 8 ounces of resin made up here, and I'm going to go ahead and start my back clear resin so it can start making its way up. Okay. Now, there's a few little micro bubbles in here, so I'm going to let it set just a couple minutes before we get started. Now, I've been kind of trying to decide what I want to do with my tree. I'm thinking about using these flowers here to make all of my foliage and things go through here. And that will be after I can get the resin up even with my tree branches, okay? Once I get it cured up enough to measure my, to be even with that. Another thought would be to use these. Now, I could do a combination of these two, but I kind of feel like my tree needs to kind of be all one breed, if you will. So anyway, that's what I'm kind of trying to decide right now. But what I do know is that I want to go ahead and start pouring this. I think I can, as I pour it into a thinner layer, I can work on getting these bubbles out with a heat gun and a little bit of alcohol. Now I am going to start pouring over this wire because, as you can imagine, that's probably going to be a nightmare of bubbles when I get up to that level. So anything that I can get cured before I get that high would definitely help. So I think this is going to be definitely this mold. I really like it. I feel like the possibilities are endless. It is definitely going to take a lot of resin. This is 8 ounces, and I feel like we have just kind of, I mean, we're not done yet, but I feel like we're not making much of a dent in the depth. So the more things you have in something like this to take up space, you'll definitely be better off. Quick go over with my heat gun and then a quick spray of alcohol. Okay, if you watch my channel very often, you know that I say often that I don't mind some bubbles, and I don't. A lot of times I don't, but on something like this where you want kind of a diorama effect and you do want your resin to be as clear as you can get it, I don't expect it to be, without a pressure pot or something, I don't expect it to be perfect. But I do want to do the best I can to get some of that out of there. I see a couple little bubbles holding on to the bottom of the mold. Scoop those up. I'm going to give this a few minutes. Oh, I see a little fuzzy down there. I'm going to give this about 5 minutes or so, okay? And spray some more. I'm going to spray a bit of alcohol in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour the rest of this 8 ounces. And then I'll set it over to cure, and then we'll be back to do the next step. All right, I'll see you then. All right, everybody, I'm back, and this part is kind of not completely cured, very like bendy, gooey, okay? So, but it is firm enough to where we're going to go ahead and pour some more. I let my resin set for about 15 minutes, and it's just starting to get just slightly warm because it's in this deep cup here. So it's going to cure a lot quicker than if it was in a more shallow cup. So I'm going to actually pour this into a second cup here so that I can kind of pour it with a little bit more control. And I'm going to go ahead and do what I've been doing. I'm going to pour over the trunk. You can see the resin just kind of like laying there on the top. It's cured enough to where it's not going to sink in. And I want it just to continue to do that until I come up level there with the branches of my tree. And we'll do a thin layer and then go ahead and run the heat gun over it. I'm really excited to see how this turns out. And I am glad that we're able to get the resin over the trunk here, because as you see, like I said, this is just wrapped wire. I started it out going around a like a craft stick, popsicle stick, and then I just pulled it off of that and just continued it to the width I wanted. Now this wire actually came from Hobby Lobby. It was in the Christmas section, and the roll was $2.99, and it was actually a roll about this big and probably, gosh, a good about that thick. And it was $2.99, and then it was 50% off of that because it was their Christmas thing. So it was a lot cheaper than buying it in the jewelry section or, you know, one of the other sections. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick spray. I still have quite a ways to go. I don't know that this is going to even be enough to completely cover this up to the branches. Okay, and this is our 16 ounces here we're doing. Anyway, I don't know if this is going to even be half full. So a project where you're filling this full of flowers or something first could definitely save you on the resin. And you want to add your layer like this before the bottom one is completely cured so that you don't get lines. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and run it over with the heat gun again. Quick spray. And I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Gosh. So some of this part of the branches are actually touching, and parts of it that are kind of curved up are still not. But it's going to be okay to fill that all in. All right, I'm going to set this over and let this cure, and then we will come back and do the next step as soon as this part is done. Okay? I'm excited for this next step. All right, I'll see you then. Hello, everybody. So the resin is pretty much cured up to the point of these tree branches. And so I wanted to kind of catch this before it cured all the way so I could kind of prevent that line that's probably going to happen now. But I didn't catch it in time. It would have been, the optimal time probably would have been around 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning. and I just didn't set my alarm to go to come back in and do it. So anyway, we're just going to go from there. And what I want to do is I'm going to take UV resin, just this kind, the Blue Moon Studio. I think I got this at just Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to start placing. We decided, I talked to Grace, my 16-year-old daughter, and we decided that these pink thistles would look the best on this tree. So we are going to go ahead and get started with this. I'm just going to use my little black light to kind of help get them kind of situated. So I think what I'll do is I'll start. Where do I want to start? Maybe I'll start right here. Up here, kind of out of the way. And so I can place it right down there on that little dot. I'm going to go ahead and stick that on there. In a good spot. I'm giving it kind of some gentle pressure, but not too hard because I don't want too many of those little leaves to fall off. It's just enough to keep it where I've got it here. I don't want it to fall off. When I start pouring resin, I want it to stay. I think this is going to be really pretty. I hope. If it goes the way I picture, I hope it turns out really pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to start over here, do the same thing. Okay, so that's basically what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to just go ahead and take these flowers and kind of arrange them. And I'm sure that I'm going to probably kind of fast forward it from this point. So, okay, I'll see you on the other side when this is all done. But gosh, what do you think so far? It's looking really pretty. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I've got some leaves that are falling, and then I've got some leaves that have fallen. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to go ahead and use my UV resin in this little cup here and go ahead and place a couple of these little fallen leaf things. Here, let's see. I think this one's going to just sit here on top of that. Okay, let's go ahead and put black light on all this. So one of the things I didn't do was come in here and make any kind of a grass in here. That's what we've got so far. What do you think? Now, here, this is what this looks like. Okay, so pretty. So now we need to make up some resin. I'm going to turn this upside down, see what we got, because I don't want a bunch of stuff floating. I mean, we'll get some stuff floating anyway, but this stuff out of the way. And now let's make up resin and get this going. All right, everybody, I'm back, and I've got some resin made up. And it's been sitting close to probably 10 minutes, and it is getting kind of warm. I got some little tiny micro bubbles in there, so we're going to pour slowly in layers on this layer. I'm hoping, whoops, we've probably got, gosh, I'm going to say probably about another 16 ounces or so to go, maybe closer to 20. But we're just going to go slow and see if we can start getting this to start seeping in between all of these little flowers. Big bubble coming up in there. There we go. I'm going to just kind of pour slowly here. And I'm going to continue going up and down this wire until we get it all the way covered. Because as you can see, doing that, we have prevented getting any bubbles rising up from this. We've just been slowly coating it, and that works usually pretty well. See a few little bubbles coming up there over here on the side. And then I know I'm going to have bubbles coming from the flowers. And so let me ask you guys a question, okay? So a lot of you have been doing this a while, and I have been too for several years, but I've really been doing it the old-fashioned way. And the more I do it, the more I'm realizing that, oh my gosh, I could be making this so much easier on myself. So if I want, this is where I get confused. If I want to put my whole project into a machine to get rid of the bubbles, not just my cup of resin, because to me, honestly, that doesn't help very much. Because as soon as you pour it, you can still get bubbles. And depending on what you've got in with your resin, when you pour it, you can get bubbles. So I'd rather make my project, put it in and get all the bubbles out. And I'm still confused on if I want a pressure pot or a vacuum chamber for that. So you people who know that, would you please pipe in and give me some suggestions? I'd appreciate that. And I am going to use my heat gun to get these little bubbles out real quick. pour some more resin in. Start over here on this side this time. Kind of slowly letting this catch up with these flowers and letting it kind of sink in around the edges and in between is definitely going to help, rather than just me coming in and start pouring over the top of it. Okay, I want it to just kind of slowly sink in and get into all the crevices on its own. While this is sitting and kind of soaking into my flowers, I'll make up more resin, and then I'm going to probably let that sit 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll just continue to pour. Another thing, when you're trying to prevent bubbles, I have found on something like this, I rarely will scrape my resin out of the cup, because a lot of times you will bring bubbles in doing that. So if I am going to scrape it, I'll scrape it into a puffy heart mold or something like that. Unless it's something I don't care about bubbles, then, you know, then I scrape it all out. But there's a little floating leaf. I think I'll just leave that guy there. So there we go. So far, so good. And it's looking great. So I'm going to go ahead and make up more resin, and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, everybody, I am back, and I've made up more resin. It's been sitting about 10 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and start pouring. I've been just kind of watching this and taking out any little bits of things that I could find that were floating. I've got a few bubbles up in here, if you can see in that cup. I don't really want to spray alcohol in it right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just pour a thin layer, and then we'll just use the heat gun. Try to get that out. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So I think we better keep going. I'm going to pour slowly. It's not going to be too long before we have all the top part of the flowers covered. So that will be good. Once that part's done, I can really start just making sure that we don't have too many bubbles in there. But do you see how pouring slowly down here around the tree trunk, how it helps just kind of soak into all those flowers up there? And when you pour straight down over the top of it, a lot of times you're causing the little bubbles, the air pockets. You're doing it to yourself. So yeah, it took me a lot of years to figure that out. Let's keep going. Just going to kind of pour right here where it's kind of centered. Hello, everybody. Okay, I'm back. So I came in and I did another quick blowover with my heat gun while I was talking on the phone, and I didn't pay attention, and I got too close and too long with my heat gun. And you can see I got bubbles for the beginning of a little flash cure right just only where my tree petals are. Okay, down here I don't really have that. Somehow, I don't know how I managed to keep it all right there. So what I'm going to do is I could just go on without worrying about it, but I'm thinking I might try something here. Thinking about taking these little bubbles and maybe seeing what would happen if it was a rainy day on my tree. But these, I don't think that this would work with some just clear little glass beads, but because these are iridescent, they might show up a bit. And there's all different sizes. So I might see what would happen if I placed them in some of these holes. And tried to see what would happen with that. I've got a bit of resin made up here. I'm going to pour just a really thin, layer over it. It kind of magnifies those bubbles. Can't believe I let that happen. I'm just so sad. But, you know, I'm not a stranger to mishaps when it comes to resin. So I'm going to just see if I can try to fix it. So I think the best way to try to do this is just to add some of these bubbles in. All of my resin is up at that end. So if I can add some down here to this bottom part. I just want a really thin layer right now. See if I can just drop some in. Just kind of random places. All right, you guys. So this part of it is this part of it's done. I'm going to take you off of here, bring you a little closer in, and show you what I did. Okay, here's those little beads. They're translucent, iridescent, and I dropped them in here. Tried to do it just kind of evenly, but kind of sporadically to make it look like we've got a bit of rain. I raised it up just for a second and let them kind of slide down to see if we could get any kind of a effect like that. But hopefully we didn't ruin it, or I should say, hopefully I didn't ruin it. And as soon as this is cured, we'll be back and top it off. And this time I'm not going to even, might do one quick run over with the heat gun and that's it. All right, I'll see you here in just a bit. Hello, everybody. I'm back and I'm ready to unmold this. And before I get this out of here, I just wanted to kind of say really quick that I received just the most wonderful care package. And so I want to say thank you so much to Tvari. I really appreciate it. So many fun things in that, gosh, box. I want to say box, but boxes. And anyway, I'm so excited to try everything. And so thank you. Genuinely from my heart, thank you so much for that. And another thing is I am getting ready to go on a vacation, as many of you know. And I just have a quick question, and then I'll get this unmolded because I know we're all waiting. But I am going on a trip that actually goes to, I'm going on a cruise, and it's the longest one I've ever been on. It's 31 days, and it goes to Alaska and Japan and Australia and, gosh, Indonesia and the Philippines and all kinds of really exciting countries. And so my question to you guys is, would you want me to come in and do like a really super quick hello video and just show you if I have something exciting to show you on my adventures? I do have some videos scheduled and planned to be posting while I'm gone, but I'd be more than happy to kind of check in with everybody. If you're interested in that, I would just love it. So let me know in the comments. And if not, if in your mind you want to say you're doing resin, stick to it. We see enough of you. We don't want to see anymore. We don't care what you do on your own time. And that's fine too. My feelings wouldn't be hurt. Just let me know. Okay. I'm going to be leaving really soon. So yeah, but anyway, in the meantime, let's get this out of here because gosh, we waited a long time. I gave it plenty of time to cure. And get this out. Feel some little bit of sharp pieces. Whoops, they're going. They're kind of flying around. Oh gosh, you guys. This is really pretty though. I mean, it did take a lot of resin, but look at, I can already see, I see just barely, actually that line from when I told you I went to sleep and didn't get up, you can just barely see it. It just happens to be right here at the line of the flower, so you can't even hardly tell. But yeah, this is a nice mold. Thank you to Let's Resin for sending this to me. And I've got a little bit of wet UV resin down here, just a little bit of goopy resin. So I will make sure I get that cured all the way but that's from putting down our green. But here it is. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I can get it far enough back. This is a really nice size piece. Let's look at the back. I have no idea what that's going to look like. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at. We could actually set this either direction and it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm telling you, I don't see any bubbles. Let me turn this over and see if that helps. I don't see any bubbles here in the clear. Let's go sideways here a little bit. We put our bubbles in, our raindrop bubbles, and you can see how they're just really kind of mystical looking in there. They're kind of layered throughout, and I did that to hide the bubbles that we got on the other side. And you know what? I think it kind of worked. It looks fine. There's our leaves floating that are falling off the tree. So gosh, this is really pretty too. I don't know which side I like better. Either, I guess, really. I mean, they're both beautiful for their own reasons, but here's the base. There is the bottom of my little wire tree. And you can see here, kind of our goopy mess where we had the UV resin. What I wish I would have done was put down a layer of regular resin all the way across that bottom before I did that, but it's okay. I'll use my flashlight here and just kind of give it a quick cure. But what do you guys think? Here it is a little bit closer. They just have all kinds of depth to them. There's my little tree trunk. No bubbles from that. There's no bubbles stuck in there. That just turned out really amazing. Even the bottom part of the tree where we had those kind of looking like they fell off. I really love this. Honestly, this is going to sit, like I said, by my entryway on my new console table, at least for right now, but I just think it's absolutely beautiful. Love it. Love it, love it. Let me know what you think. I know it did take a lot of resin. Let me know what you guys think. I'll probably come in here and sand this. I'm not going to do that in front of everyone, but let me know what you think. I love it. Love it, love it. I think it turned out great. It was a great experiment. And now that I know it works, gosh, I'm ready to try all different kinds of stuff. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys all had a good day and I hope you had fun with this. And let me know in the comments what you think about me checking in on my vacation. And like I said, feelings won't be hurt if you have no interest. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you had fun and I hope it inspired you and encouraged you to get creative and try something outside of the box. And thank you all so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you all next time.